Today we got the optimal Genin teams by the Sage of Thick Calves. I just found bro's content recently. He makes kind of traditionally explain videos regarding Naruto. Like, I think it's a video on Kakashi's win-loss record, the amount of jutsu in certain people's arsenals. And as always, it's your main man Sly. Once again, slide onto that timeline. Today we're gonna be talking about the optimal Genin teams. This video is presented to us by the Sage of Thick Calves. So let's make sure y'all like up, bro. I don't want to see a video with 41,000 views, only 2,000 likes, bro. Y'all gotta lock in. Is this AI? There's a lot of creators that do this. This is very important. I don't know if this will be like a script, like a brief of the script, but yeah, for sure, this is important because YouTube uses your description to like push your videos. So I'm glad I'm finding a video like these. But lock me in.
The Konoha 12 is one of the most iconic groups in anime history.
For sure.
Naruto, Sasuke, Lee, Neji, Shino, Sakura, Hinata, Ino, Shikamaru.
Each team only has one woman. And that's how I'm able to like memorize the team. Like, without this on my screen, Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke, Team 7. We're 3 out. Tenten, Neji, Lee, 2 teams. Hinata, my goat Shino, Kiba, 3 teams. Ino, Shika, Cho, 4 teams. Hold on. Yeah, because it's 12. And we were here before adding their team. Which, if you can't tell, is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12.
The Konoha 12 is one of the most iconic groups in anime history. Naruto, Sasuke,
I'm telling you, bro.
Neji, Shino, Sakura, Hinata, Ino,
It's well put together.
Shoji, Kiba, and Tenten, along with their powerful Jonin leaders, all brought
Yes,
something
sir. My
unique
boy
and
getting my
interesting
ore
to
for
the
him.
story of Naruto from the jump. And being able to watch them grow and develop into top-notch shinobi is one of the most fulfilling parts
Very
of the Naruto
fulfilling.
story as a whole. Categorized by teams, these characters advance alongside their teammates, complementing them and covering one another well. And the assignment of said teams is largely contributed to the types of shinobi they end up becoming. But what would happen if these teams were tweaked? How would that change things for the characters in question? More specifically, what if we took these 12 shinobi and placed them on teams?
I think that's a very, common question. Like, oh, what if they had so-and-so as a sensei? Like, think about it. Inoshika Cho is like a predetermined tradition thing. It's optimal because it has been optimal. We don't know if it's the best. Like, imagine a team of, powerhouses. Like, the 3 of, potentially the strongest. So you take Sasuke, Naruto, and Shikamaru. Because the logic they used for Team 7 was, oh, we took the dead worst of the class, the highest of the class, and then, someone like Sakura who's very proficient. But, she doesn't have, a lot of resolve. I don't think they said that in particular about Sakura, but that's, her character when it comes to the academy. She's very proficient. She's not the highest of the class, that'd be Sasuke. But that's just looking at, practical stuff. But in terms of writing and the written exams and chakra control, Sakura has that over Sasuke. So how Sasuke is a better student than her, we have no idea. But just in terms of fighting and stuff, he has more resolve. So lowest, just looking at physicals and practicals, lowest, highest. Didn't mean to flick it all off. Lowest, highest, and then you have Sakura, who's the best when it comes to written chakra control, but lacking when it comes to practical aspects. Instead, lowest Naruto, highest Sasuke, and then Shikamaru. You feel me? Is that not tough? Strategist who's lazy, doesn't really get a lot done. Someone who has very hard work, they just can't seem to win. And someone who has perfect resolve, but gets clouded, his judgment gets clouded. Come on, bro. And then with Kakashi, that's
with the most ideal pairings in mind. That's exactly what we'll be going over in this.
But I think he's talking about character balancing and pairings of jutsus and different things of that nature. So it's going to be a lot different than that. But if that's one of those teams, peak. All I know is if Shikamaru's not on that team, put Shikamaru on the team with Shino. Shino has no L's in the series.
Video. In other words, today we'll be exploring and breaking down the most.
I don't think he's averaging the teams. He's saying optimal, but I don't think he's just averaging them. Oh, take the best of this team, move them over here, replace them with the worst of this team, and they're all gonna be mid, but like comparatively to each other, they're optimal. I think he's optimizing them. Like, what was the strength of this team? We're gonna make that even stronger. You feel me? Like, take someone like Kurnoh, Genjutsu specialist. Her team, in all actuality, could have been Hinata, someone with like high ocular prowess, but like she don't really do Genjutsu. But someone who could do Genjutsu could. She has mind transfer. Genjutsu would be crazy for a kid. And then take Sakura, someone Kurenai said was like a prodigy at it. That's already two people on her team that like is more optimal than what we got before. Like, he could be doing it that way. I just hope he's not averaging. Like, oh, come on, bro. I think he's like he's maximizing certain people's talents.
It's optimal. Genin teams.
I'm praying. That's what I want to see. Talk to me.
Before we jump into the video, it's first worth noting that this video was
Majin is always commissioning videos. Shout out Majin.
commissioned by one of my faithful subscribers, the Majin Sith. So shout out to the Majin Sith for the 100. If any of you are interested in commissioning a video,
We're dropping the 100 ball.
the Discord link in the description to get started. Next, it's worth going over how exactly we'll be determining how these teams will be put together. In Konoha, each Genin team is ideally built around balance, mixing talent, versatility, utility, training potential, and a sensei who is best suited to lead said squad to mission victory. However, characters in Naruto aren't infallible, and I think some of these teams could be organized better with the...
I agree, because some of them were put there narratively, like different struggles. Like, look at Tenten. Look at Tenten and Lee. Lee can't use any like chakra stuff, so he's with Guy. That makes sense. Look at Tenten. She's someone who quite literally wanted to be the greatest shinobi she could be, but she didn't have like a talent for like regular jutsu. So she went to like the ceiling jutsu and the weapons and things of that nature. She went with Guy. So like, Guy's just taking people for the most part who like don't teach other stuff, which implies Guy isn't proficient at these other things. But just because he doesn't use it doesn't mean he's not a Jonin. Like, he's proficient enough to teach a Genin about it. Neji, I think, is a more make sense type of pull because, you feel me, what's it called? Like the Hyuga palm. I can't remember the name of the taijutsu right now. 64 palms, 8 trigrams. What am I thinking about right now? Their taijutsu, it's good that he's working with God because he's working on like more versatility with his M1s.
Those parameters in mind. Specifically, what we'll be aiming to accomplish in the creation of these teams are these 4 things. Well-roundedness to help promote each team's ability to accomplish.
See, well-roundedness. If well-roundedness is all, then like the teams would kind of become weaker, but they'd be better in general. Like the complement. So for example, okay, let's put a stealth person here. Let's put a sensory person here. Let's put a combatant person here. That's a well-rounded team, but it can nerf other stats the team was really good at beforehand. So like the teams would be like some teams would be like skyrocketed because they were already like weak, but for the most part, that well-roundedness makes all these teams kind of level.
Publish a variety of missions.
But because
to ensure that
you throw the cohesiveness in there, that makes it a way better thing to see.
Squad members complement one another in both abilities and temperament,
Yeah.
leading to ideal
So now
teamwork,
power
balance
and teamwork.
between the squads
Thank you.
to make sure no team is too strong or too weak.
Goes back to the balance part that's like cooking me, bro. But it's number 3. It's number 3. So it shouldn't nerf us too bad.
And leadership and guidance from a Jonin squad
And
leader who is best suited to promote the growth
That
of their
had to be there.
subordinates. We'll also be doing this from the time frame of part 1, so when 9 of these shinobi were assigned to their teams, but also we're assuming here that all of the Konoha 12 graduated together, even though 3 of them
Like
did not.
that
So
didn't
it'll be as
happen.
if these
Yeah.
teams are being formed fresh out of the academy. However,
Gotcha.
I will be taking into consideration later information in terms of aptitude for certain areas
Yes.
of ability, such as Sakura's innate talent
Exactly.
in Genjutsu.
Come on,
Finally,
bro.
I'll also talk about how these swaps positively
My
and
goat.
negatively affect the characters and squads in
My
question,
goat.
as well as touch briefly on how their development will be altered and how the approach for
Yeah.
their Jonin leaders might
Because Shikacho, it's like tradition. It's optimal because they work well together, but that doesn't mean other pairings couldn't work well.
change. But with that out of the way, let's jump into our first squad,
Talk to me.
Team 10.
Team 10, Team 10, Team 10. Is that Asuma?
This one is super easy. Team 10 doesn't change.
I know
So
Ball
it will
has my
consist of
goat.
Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji, with the Jonin leader of Asuma. I know that's a
What you mean it don't change, bro?
bit anticlimactic
It
to start
is,
off with,
bro.
and I personally do like some other arrangements slightly better for these guys.
Okay.
But when the series tells us like 20 times that this team is a legendary pairing and has insane synergy, I have to adhere to and accept the canon statements. Not only are we told in the manga that these three clans
I'm talking about some canon statements, bro. We here to have fun, gang.
come together to form
It does say optimal. I'll give him
a
that.
legendary combination, we're also told in the novels that this combination and their attacks have entire books written on them in other countries because this Ino-Shikacho pairing is so mythically
It's good. It's good in the fact that there's this. Because there's history, they don't have to figure out stuff from scratch. Like, yeah, they're creating their own
synchronous.
they're creating their own combo techniques or whatever, but you have multiple years of combat techniques written down. So it's like you can improvise, change stuff up. While like with teams that don't have the same history, it's just a matter of how well the leadership of the Jonin is, how well their personalities mesh, etc.
And it does actually make sense. While they do suffer from not having any long-range capabilities, they make up for that in intellect, close-range prowess, and utility. And honestly, once Choji develops to the point of being able to use the super expansion jutsu and grow to the size of a mountain, they then unlock long-range capabilities by default. Where
Right.
this team does suffer, at least initially, is, as I said before, in long-range effectiveness, but also in star power. Without Choji
Yeah.
taking his pills early on, they honestly lack a true heavy
Heavy
hitter
hitter.
like Sasuke, Neji, or Lee. However, I
Right.
do think that Shikamaru's intellect paired with the passed down
Yeah.
combination attacks and leadership of a
Shikamaru's intellect. Come on, bro. We don't need star power. He is the star.
Sarutobi like Asuma more than makes up for that. So Team 10 remains intact, but that can't be said for our next squad.
I'll give him
Team
that.
7.
He glazed my goat Shikamaru. I'll give it to him. Kashi's team.
For Team 7, we have one big change, which might not be
Sakura.
super popular, but just walk with me here.
Naruto?
Sakura is gone
Oh,
and replaced
okay.
by Hinata. I genuinely don't think there's a single downside here.
There isn't. There isn't. Sakura was on her physicals. If we're saying this is the person that's gonna meet Tsunade, physicals plus Hyuga M1s. What? There's no downsides. And if we're saying she keeps her regular training progression, then it's like, okay, that's cool too. She has the compassion to like keep the team together. You have someone else with dojutsu prowess, which complements the team, gives them a lot of variety, has the wide range of her joint, has the predictive abilities of Sasuke's joint. What? Sasuke goes rogue because of curse mark. Tenketsu points. He can't use chakra. Send him for a rest for a little bit. What? This is perfect.
Even for Sakura, which we'll get into later. Naruto and Sasuke have to remain together because their teamwork is the
They're
stuff of
ideal.
legend even
Yeah.
early on, with them being able to form
That's
combo
opposite
attacks
was
without
tough.
even speaking to each other, and their rivalry spurs them on to grow even stronger
Even
in order to
stronger,
keep up with the
yeah.
other. Throwing Hinata into this mix, though,
I started rewatching Naruto. I seen that play for the first time. That was tough. Turn himself to a demon with Shuriken without telling that anything, bro.
opens up a ton of options they didn't previously have, without really messing up anything major.
Anything
Hinata
like
brings an
Team
additional
Kim.
high-level close-range fighter with a taijutsu
Exactly.
stat of 3 in comparison to Sakura's taijutsu stat of 1. Making them far more combatively capable than they were before with Sakura. This also massively buffs their abilities in recon,
Range.
sensory,
Yeah, what
and
they know.
tracking, with Hinata's Byakugan enabling them to easily take
He
on
knows
difficult
ball.
missions involving these things, as well as help prevent any kind of sneak attack. This actually could have come in handy during the Land of Waves mission when Zabuza was
sure.
using the hidden mist technique, as Hinata could potentially inform Kakashi
Detect
as
him.
to where Zabuza is located, even in the fog. She also should have been able
She could have run the Sakura play, stayed close to Tazuna, but because of that 360 vision, minus that one blind spot, Tazuna's the only one right behind her. She can see everything, so she can perfectly keep him protected while telling the team where he's at, bro. That's peak.
to detect Haku hiding, which would have given Team 7 a leg up on what exactly Zabuza and Haku's plan was. This would have been especially useful during the Chunin exams, though. Literally,
That boy
at
Pants got
every
3
turn,
buttons.
she would have been better for Naruto and Sasuke than Sakura was. A good example of this is when they're attacked by the Rain Shinobi using clones and Genjutsu to exhaust Team 7 right at the end. She would have been able to use her Byakugan to find out where the
see right
caster
through that.
was, and that would have helped them out a ton. She also would have likely fared better against the Sound Shinobi than
For
Sakura
sure.
did due to her
She got
significantly
greater
higher combat
taijutsu.
prowess. That doesn't mean that she would necessarily beat them, but she'd definitely do better than the substitution jutsu merchant Sakura. There's literally not a single moment in part 1 where Sakura would have been more useful to them than Hinata. I also think this would massively speed up Hinata's development as an individual.
For
She
sure.
can't really be around Naruto at first due to her shyness and
That's her
crush.
teammate.
I do think this would change with time, like exposure therapy. But also, she's clearly inspired by Naruto and wants to be more like him. So seeing him up close, overcoming his
Would
fears
have
and
gave her more of that
limitations with
inspiration.
Naruto.
Yeah, she would have been a completely different Shinobi by the time she fought Neji. Because Naruto in the beginning stabbed himself with that poisonous kunai. Do you know what type of inspiration that would have gave her? What? He said, I was too scared to move. Come on, bro. She gave me goosebumps.
Also being the type of guy to encourage her every chance he gets, she'd likely overcome a lot of her personal hesitations earlier on,
For sure.
leading to greater
Making her a
growth
far
in part
deadly
1.
ninja
I also think that
earlier
having
on.
Kakashi, someone who's regarded as an incredibly powerful and legendary shinobi, encouraging her, and likely taking more of an interest in her than he did Sakura due to their commonality of wielding dojutsu, this would boost her growth as well. In terms of Naruto and Sasuke, I think Hinata's disposition helps them out too, since she doesn't like fighting or confrontation, and Sasuke would respect her abilities early on far more than he respected Sakura's because Sakura was useless. So while she wouldn't burst out and yell at them,
Sakura was useless. It's crazy.
like Sakura did, potentially keeping them in check whenever they go over the top, I don't really
He didn't say it with slander in mind. He just said it like part 1 in mind. Like, she didn't really do a lot.
think that ever helped anything. So they
It did
wouldn't
help
really
them with their
lose
chakra
anything
control,
important
so she
here.
was
As far as
useful.
team leader, I alluded to it earlier, but yeah, Kakashi remains. He's specifically placed in charge of Sasuke and Naruto due to Sasuke having a Sharingan and Naruto being a vessel for Kurama. So that would still be the case here.
Kakashi has the
However,
most
having
like
two
experience.
dojutsu wielders in this group would probably motivate him to train both of them specifically on how to wield it properly,
And would have made
even
his
if he
dojutsu
doesn't
better
have a
too.
Byakugan, leading to greater development for the team overall. But with Team 7 covered though, getting even stronger and more capable than before,
He gives
that
Sakura
begs
to
the
Kurama.
question, where then does Sakura land?
Predict of doom and despair.
Teammate changes the most, but I think is drastically improved overall. Before, this team was really strong in recon type missions with Shino, Hinata, and Kiba all being
It's overly stacked.
tracking specialists in some capacity and could even fight at multiple ranges easily. However, they lacked real long-range capabilities outside of potentially Shino, and also were incredibly
Close
redundant in
combat.
their move pools.
Kiba's
So
pretty
while I do think we might see a
balanced.
slight drop initially, I also think that this new Team 8 of Sakura, Kiba, and Tenten would act
I like this. I was just talking about that. And we put Shino with the highest win rate on a team with 2 close range specialists, Neji and Lee. He would give the far range. Neji already has the information with the joint, but you get more information through Shino being able to send those bugs out. And it's never lost in any type of combat. And it gives them long range capability. So he replaces Tenten perfectly. And he has like more motivation to like, you feel me? While this team is good because Kurenai is good with Genjutsu. I would have been able to up Sakura's bag, stagger the opponent, boom, Tenten goes in for the kill shot. And Kiba's a sensory ninja, so it covers that. Just like how Team 7, you have a sensory ninja with Hinata now and 2 close range ninjas. Even though, like I said, Sasuke kind of has similar abilities with the Sharingan, the abilities are not the exact same. So it's not as redundant. You feel me? I like these.
end up being better overall than their original combination. Let's start with the fact that this team will be led by Kurenai. But there's one key difference.
Genjutsu demon.
Sakura is a Genjutsu specialist, which she'd benefit from massively, as Kurenai is a Genjutsu
Especially early
specialist
on.
as well, even being stated to not only excel in Genjutsu, but also to have disturbed Itachi by
Embarrassed when she's unjustly suspected of being in a relationship with Asuma. They do get together though. She should be embarrassed by using a Genjutsu on Itachi.
overturning his Genjutsu and have had an equal Genjutsu battle with him. Crazy statement. Now, that doesn't mean that she's necessarily an equal to Itachi in Genjutsu with his higher-end Genjutsu techniques,
Not at all.
particularly the Mangekyo
But it puts her
Sharingan.
up there.
But it does mean that she's incredibly proficient in
Yeah.
that area,
Yeah, I'll
which
give you that.
could really allow for Sakura to blossom and become incredibly useful early on. Overall, while this team suffers from not having any star players, much like Team 10, their abilities, strengths, and weaknesses actually complement the others
each other.
incredibly well.
More
With
well-rounded.
Sakura being a Genjutsu threat, Kiba being great in close range, tracking, and sensory detection, And Tenten being really useful at all three ranges of combat, this combination can be very effective in basically every type
Peak.
of mission they can be
Yeah.
assigned. Something else that's worth noting is what types of genjutsu Sakura might have at her disposal. Demonic
Yo,
Illusion,
Kurenai's her
Tree
teacher.
Binding Death, the genjutsu
Like,
used
what,
by
bro?
Kurenai to bind Itachi, is one which Sakura could learn, giving her a really useful ability for both close-range
Very
combat as
useful
well as
bag.
intel gathering. But it doesn't stop
What?
there. Since we know that Kishimoto and or Shueisha personally
When creating playable characters, we need to make sure we can cover all bases and special attacks. If we were to add Ino, we would need to add some original attacks. We simply cannot add original attacks, and therefore we need to put together a planned portfolio of attacks that we need to... Yo, there's a lot of run-on sentences. When creating playable characters, we need to make sure we can cover all basic and special attacks. Period there, get rid of and so. If we were to add Ino, we would need to add some original attacks. We simply cannot add original attacks, and therefore we need to put together a planned portfolio of attacks. We then would need to present to the anime studios these attacks, as well as the production team, and at most, Shueisha, sometimes Kishimoto, may give it a look over.
approve the movesets for characters in the Storm games, it's reasonable to assume that she could learn any of the genjutsu that
we
Kurenai
see.
displays in those games.
Yeah.
Now, quickly, this doesn't apply to characters who have died, as there are direct statements from CyberConnect which tell us that the movesets for characters who have passed, such as Itachi and Shisui's Perfect Susanos, aren't reflective of their actual abilities while alive, but more so just a
Right.
hypothetical of what if
For the
they
game,
continued
like
to
if
live
they were
and
at their
develop.
peak.
However, for
Right.
characters who are alive or past versions
It's
of characters
anything they
who
could have
existed in
done.
canon, these movesets, at least in my opinion, should be able to be taken as canon because,
face
again,
value, yeah.
Kishimoto and Shueisha do approve these. With that
Okay.
said, though, Kurenai does just use genjutsu at close, medium, and long range in Storm connections,
Hey.
meaning that if you assume she teaches these to Sakura, our favorite multiple personality Kunoichi could
Would
end up
have,
being incredibly effective
yeah,
at all ranges of
multiple
combat as
ranges.
well, making this team absolutely lethal.
Okay, I like it. The GOAT.
For our final team, we have Team 9, led by Mike Guy. This team consists of Neji,
It's like this nigga just do Shino in there.
Lee, and Shino, and might just be the strongest one here, at least throughout the early parts of Part 1. They have everything. Neji and Lee are obviously
People had to like make the teams balanced. Kurenai's team had to have 2 girls. Like the idea of putting a girl on each team, there's nothing wrong with them being women, but Kishimoto gave them like weaker kids. I don't know if it's, I'm not gonna say it's misogyny, but they have weaker kids, and they also like have more personal. No, Sasuke and Naruto have really personal things going on with their. I mean, all of them have personal things going on with their character, but for the women, like because their kids are like weaker face value, they have to overcome whatever mental block it is to be useful. While for the guys, overcoming those mental blocks makes them superstars. Without those, they're still better than like a lot of the women presented in early series. Like with Hinata, it was her shyness. With Sakura, it was her like inability of doing action because she's afraid of people judging her. That's why she has like the internal monologue with herself. With Tenten, is not as much shown because the whole point of Guy's team was to show like people that have like already like gone through what most teams have to go through. They're supposed to be like the pinnacle of Genin.
Our players, with Shino kind of being a sleeper star. Neji and Lee are
No,
incredibly
Shino's
efficient
elite.
at close range combat, and
I
their
mean,
pseudo
Shino
rivalry
hasn't
will
lost.
spur on their
He
growth
don't
as
miss.
it does in the original series, especially under the instruction of Guy. Shino covers close, medium, and long-range combat, with both Neji and Shino being great at tracking, surveillance, and threat detection, with the Byakugan and Shino's Beetles being wildly
peak.
useful in those categories. I actually think that at least prior to the Sasuke retrieval arc, this team would be a clear favorite amongst these squads in a 3v3 tournament of sorts.
Oh, yeah, for
or
sure.
team free-for-all. They have no weaknesses outside of the ones shared by all of these squads.
They're up
and the
there with
fact that
Team
none
7.
of them have a legitimate medical shinobi in Part 1. Something else that's interesting about this team is that you also have 2 really high IQ players in both Shino and Neji,
Yes.
with both of them being fully capable of taking over leadership responsibilities.
Like, just don't understand. Shino is like that. Like, if you want to make a perfectly tactical team, you have Shino, no L's. You have Neji, the first one to become a Jonin, and you have Shikamaru, the first one to become a Chunin. Stop it, bro. That's elite. That's elite lineups.
Necessary. For the other squads, they really only rely on one of these types, with Shikamaru, Sasuke, and Sakura being the
Right.
clear-cut smartest of their squads. You could argue that maybe this would lead to them butting heads, but I actually don't think that's the
I think
case.
it'd be better.
Neji isn't really concerned with leadership as much as he is with being strong, and Shino is fairly non-confrontational.
Yeah,
with his
he's very
teammates,
laid
but more
back.
than capable of developing clever strategies if required. This would likely lead Shino to being the de facto strategic leader of the squad, with Neji and Lee being the heavy hitters of the group, which I think makes for a dangerous combination that the
Perfect,
other
bro.
squads probably couldn't contend with. In conclusion, these squads are all multifaceted, well-rounded, and possess clear leadership. They all can fight at multiple ranges, with the only teams lacking real long-range capabilities being Team 10 and potentially Team 9, but Team 10 circumvents that again whenever Choji can grow to the size of a mountain,
Team
and
9
Team 9 does still have the
might
long-range
go
fatal
Shino.
techniques. They're just not as hard-hitting as what you would expect from like a true long-range specialist.
Very
They all have
tactical
strategic
and
minds
useful.
leading them, the makings of excellent synergy, and at least 3 out of the 4 have excellent tracking and recon
Yeah.
abilities, with Team 10 being the only exception, but making up for it with Shikamaru's mutant-like intellect. This makes these teams far more optimal than they were originally,
We fought with the Shikamaru guy. He said mutant-like
at
intellect.
least in my opinion, and would lead to proper development for each and every one of the Konoha 12. I also think that if you take into consideration how they would develop into Shippuden, they all get better. I don't think that any character here would actually suffer from this long term, and actually some characters like Sakura would benefit from this long term.
For
And
sure.
I actually do think that Sakura having a crush on Sasuke would still seek out Tsunade because she would know
And it would still help because like that distance between them would make the like moments shared with them more valuable, you know. And Sasuke's not pulling the same on Hinata, not happening, especially with Naruto in the squad.
that Naruto is training with the Sannin, Sasuke left the village to go train with the Sannin, and
She'd
she
want
would
to
then
keep
be
up,
like,
especially because they weren't the closest before they became a team, but they still had some connection before they became a team. And now that connection would shift to like a rivalry / competition. So I do agree with this statement.
oh, I have to go trade with the Sannin as well to keep up with Sasuke so I can actually save him. So I actually think that she still takes that route, but she ends up massively stronger because of the fact that she
Genjutsu
won't
on
only
top.
have everything Tsunade teaches her with the
have
pinnacle
the
of chakra
Kurenai
control
kit.
that she possesses naturally,
Because all of Team 7 are meant to be heavy hitters. Like for Sakura, it's her mentality. That was where her cutting her hair was. It's like she was already top of the class almost. She just didn't have the practical aspects. And that was because of the fear of getting her hands dirty and actually being a shinobi. And the fear of other people's thoughts. And that's why she felt the need to always compete with Ino. Oh, her life's so perfect. And mind you, they're both in decent situations when compared to Naruto and Sasuke. But that is why she had like the little talking voice in her head. Like that was her whole thing, being self-conscious, worrying about others, not just in like a I want to help people way, but in like what they say matters. It affects me type of way. So it is very important in this event that she gets to use Genjutsu because she finds her own strength, and in her mind will likely silence those naysayers. And then she gets the the badassery of training with Tsunade. It makes her a twofold genius and capitalizes on what she was in part 1. That guy. She just didn't have the kit. And then once she gets Tsunade's kit, she becomes that guy. Oh, she's healing all these people. She's going crazy. Oh, Genjutsu also applies to healing people too. They're in a lot of pain. I can temporarily make them forget about the pain as I'm healing them.
but she
What,
would also
bro?
have close, medium, and long-range genjutsu at her
Her kit
disposal,
becomes
which would make her
invariable.
incredibly dangerous. I think something similar applies
Infallible.
to Hinata, being around Naruto and Sasuke, and being encouraged and spurred on to grow, and being inspired by Naruto to become the best version of herself
Yeah.
would probably lead to better growth for her in both Part 1 and Part 2.
And then she would still see Hinata, who from the beginning we know is this shy person, but then Hinata would start going crazy because she's been around Naruto this whole time.
And even characters like Neji would benefit
What,
from
bro?
having
It's only
Shino
VP.
on his squad because
Neji benefits with that joint with Shino. They have like they're both intellectuals, so they have conversations about fate every now and then, which does something to that first interaction with Naruto. But even then, when he fights Hinata, even though he's the more talented one, Hinata this time it wouldn't be like a loss because she's holding herself back, and Neji's like, "Ooh, how dare you? You're taking your lineage for granted." She would be someone walking with the confidence of the main branch, and he wouldn't have that like inferiority complex. He would just see like I don't need to just protect her. Like You know what I'm saying? She is Shinobi too. She get down.
He could train his Byakugan to detect tiny things like his beetles from a long range. We see that he trains with Tenten in order to develop his rotation, so we know that he's actually willing to participate in training to improve his abilities with his teammates, and I think that would be a really cool way to go about that. But what did you guys
That's
think?
tough.
Was I right? Was I wrong?
I like. We don't have to agree. That's why right and wrong is a very like weird thing in like a conversation like this. But I like the IQ that went behind it. It was a good video, man. Shout out to Sage the Thick Calves as always. Make sure it's happy, healthy, and hydrated. You know what I'm saying? I know what time to see me next. Peace.